I can see it.
Well, the wonky 6 casting cost enchantment. Do it. Let's see what matches we have this round.
We have Korey again with the blue-white deck. We had featured him earlier. Versus Brian Boss. So
this is a neat little deck.
Brian Boss is a Kansas City area guy. Isn't really well known, but top 16. He ended up he put up a decent finish or two in the Pro Tour circuit 2 years back. Kind of fell off, but he's been grinding opens, doing well. Usually, been playing a lot of green-white decks, but I guess we have another one here. But this is kind of similar to, looks kind of like Kenny Mayer's deck.
It's similar. The main difference between this deck, Kenny Mayer's deck was this junk deck that had the Dark Depths Vampire Hexmage combo, and the big difference here is Brian Boss has Living Wish
and
Tarmogoyf, where Kenny didn't. So Living Wish can get either half of the combo. Can you Hexmage or Dark Depths, which is a pretty big deal.
He has a pretty wide selection for this Living Wish.
Yeah. It takes up most of his sideboard, in fact.
Yeah, he's got 4 Inquisitions, 2 Extirpates, and a ton of singletons to tutor for.
Yeah, Bajuka Bog, Wasteland, Dark Depths, Tarmogoyf, Hexmage, Shriekmaw, Kataki, Pride Mage, Gaddock Teeg. The rest of the cards in his sideboard are just Inquisition or Kozilek, which is 4 of, and 2 Extirpates.
It also looks like his main deck's a little less toolboxy than Kenny's. Kenny, had all these one-ofs, had this Entomb to tutor for everything, but Brian only has 1 Dark Depths even, a little less combo-based, a little more beatdown-based.
Yeah, I mean,
Still has the 4 main deck mental missteps, though.
Yeah, the mental missteps is really interesting. I mean, you have to counter the Swords of Plowshares, I think. I think that card is just too important. Swords of Path on your 2020.
Or the Knight of the Reliquary, even. Looking to Korey deck, we featured him earlier. He's blue-white Stoneforge control. Again, 4 Stoneforge, 2 Vanillions, Jaces. He has Standstills, not Ancestral Visions.
Right.
Couple Spell Snares, only 3 Force of Wills. He got Sword of Binding Mind and Battersoul as his tutor package. Counterspell. Out of the board, he's got a Manriki Gusari, Elspeth, Wrath of Gods, the last Force, Manilian Click, Sword, Fire and Ice, and some Path of Exiles, Pith Needles, and Misdirections. This should be an interesting match, junk versus blue-white control, so.
Yeah, so the interesting thing about here, I was talking to Kenny Mayer about his take on this deck, the green-white-black deck, and his version is a little different, like we said. It's got some different choices, doesn't have the Living Wish. He said that the problem with Living Wish he had is that it just takes up way too many sideboard slots. And in Legacy, when you have, so many archetypes you have to face, this Living Wish is taking up, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 sideboard slots in Brian Boss's sideboard.
9
sideboard slots in Brian Boss. Counting. We're good at it.
Yeah.
So it takes up 9 sideboard slots in Kenny Mayer's, or in Brian Boss's sideboard. So that only leaves him with 6 slots to do other things with.
To be fair, though, in the current metagame, you don't really need these sideboard slots quite as much as you used to. A little bit more blue decks, a little bit less, random combo decks. So on the left we have Brian Boss, and on the right is Korey. Korey is actually fresh off a top 4. He is the jump player we were talking about earlier.
Right, and he switched sides from Jun to pledge to the Jace and Stoneforge Allegiance of America, and he's playing the blue-white deck that we've seen time and time again now. He's got a
full
Crucible
swap,
Worlds.
green, black, red, now blue-white.
Yeah, showing that he can run with anything. Brian Boss, on the other hand, of course, playing the black, green, white, Dark Depths junk deck we were just talking about.
Let's see, Brian Boss on turn 1 fetches up. Looks like a Bayou he's looking at.
Yeah, also seems like he's looking at Bayou.
Yeah.
And there's Bayou. And so we think we're going to see a Thoughtseize here? Oh no, Mox Diamond. We're going
to see a real start here.
Heading into 2-drop territory. Discards Caracas.
Vampire
Hexmage. Could he have it? Turn 2. We saw Kenny Mayer today make a turn 2.
He did in fact do it on turn 2. Brian Boss only has 1, but he also has these Living Wishes.
Right, and so for 2 mana, he actually has access to more than Kenny because he has 5 basically.
Yeah. Brian Boss also does not have him to throw on. That's an interesting
call.
Wow.
That's really interesting to me because him is such a beating in this kind of deck.
It is. I think that Brian Boss is probably just playing this Hexmage on his way up to a Knight. Just get a body into play. It's going to beat a Jace the Mind Sculptor from Korey. Apparently Brian's just been wrecking people with Hexmage all day, doing all sorts of random things.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I haven't heard the full story yet, but I'm sure at some point it'll be told.
Sure. What are some of the random things you've heard of as rumors?
I mean, I can only imagine, very simple things like people not knowing about First Strike, people not knowing anything about what the card does, killing, aside from just killing Jaces, maybe like some Ravagers I can see happening.
Targeted art, whatever, dude. Like, it happens. People need to start running
vials in response to the activation.
Yeah, we're talking about the response to activation, and nothing happens.
Yeah.
Kind of like how when you could proliferate up Aether Vial, make sure nothing happened.
I don't think I ever saw that happen, but
we were talking about it the other day.
I think we talked about it building like a blue something Tezzeret deck. So, yep, Brian does play that Knight of the Reliquary and just beats down with his Hex Mage. Korey fetching with the Zared Mesa for a Tundra.
Yeah. So, Korey Faye's board, Tundra, to Brian Boss's much larger board of Mox Diamond, 2 lands, Knight of the Reliquary, Vampire Hex Mage. Korey Faye casts Brainstorm.
I really hope this is not end step.
I mean, so yeah, Vampire Hex Mage is interesting. I think people need to start running Urborgs to deal with the first strike on that guy. That's going to be such a problem.
Maybe someday they'll change the legend rule so it kills their Urborg at Tuma Yawgmoths too.
How sick is it to have Urborg and Urborg Tuma Yawgmoth in play at the same time? That's got to be some kind of a ward, right?
Yeah. Also takes the Swampwalk off of like a Shieldred.
Yeah, I mean, you never know when you got to get rid of Swampwalk. They're like Sewer Drag.
That's the only Swampwalk creature I've seen in Legacy lately is Shieldred. I don't think that you're really going to care about Swampwalk on that guy. He's probably just going to kill you regardless.
Fair enough. Yeah, Shieldred is a beating. All right, so Korey Faye puts 2 cards back with that Brainstorm. And then untaps. So it was the end step Brainstorm. AJ Soccer would not approve of that play.
I do not approve of that play. It's...
AJ Soccer, if you go and watch AJ TV this week, AJ had a great episode on how to cast Brainstorm optimally.
Yeah.
And one of the things he said is, brainstorming end step doesn't really get you ahead at all unless you really want to have 2 lands in your turn. Now, if Korey was trying to dig for a Stoneforge Mystic or something, maybe that's a little more defensible. But even then, it's kind of a rough brainstorm.
Yeah, I really don't feel like that's the right play.
Brian does Wasteland down Tundra.
Korey floats a mana, and then Brian moves to his combat step. Looks like Corey's going to brainstorm again.
So brainstorm, and this time he's got the fetch land.
Yeah, but he's now brainstorming back through cards that he's already seen.
So let's see. That card, couldn't quite catch out what it was. And that card, couldn't quite catch what that one was either. So, all right, that's that. Puts those down.
Crashes in with just the Hex Mage.
Hex Mage drops Korey to 15.
This Knight of the Reliquary is threatening a 20/20.
Wow, yeah, he just sacrifice the land, get a Dark Depths. What are you going to do about it, Korey Faye? Is he going to make it in response now? No, probably not.
No, he's just leaving up this Knight. Korey can no longer fetch non-basic. He's going to get Wasteland if that happens. So he's going to mess up Korey's fetch. Korey has to think on his turn that he can't actually play a Stoneforge Mystic, even if he has it. He just dies.
Yeah, you can't.
Maybe he just doesn't think about this, but, it just puts him in an awkward scenario.
Korey,
and at the very least, I think that Knight is going to end up fetching a Mazavith so that it can crash in and then untap after attacking.
And then,
threaten Dark Depths if Korey ever taps out.
Yeah, for those who don't know how that works, there's the end of combat step. Your Knight of the Reliquary is still technically attacking. So you can attack, deal damage, and then untap your Knight with Mazavith.
Yeah, this looks like Brian Boss has everything set up for what he's trying to do with these guys. Korey can definitely get back in. He definitely has enough Swords of Plowshares in his deck, but he's going to need to do some work, a little bit of legwork to get there. Especially because as of now, he cannot tap out for Jace the Mind Sculptor.
Right. Yeah, so Korey leaves with 2 mana, and Brian Boss is going to Knight of the Reliquary.
Yep.
And what are we going to find here? Mazavith? Do you think you go for it, or you just want to get some other land? Fetch land, make your Knight bigger?
Yeah, that looks like a Dark Depths. He's just going for
he's just going for it.
Yeah, why not?
He's like, do you have it?
I mean, if he does have it, that's the Swords that the Knight no longer has to deal with.
It's true. And the Swords is crashing for a month. All right, get a 20/20. Show me what you got.
That looks like a Bayou still in play.
And that's it. Brian A had a combination of knowing that the Knight was going to be big, and B just kind of had to read like, whatever, you got it, right? And plus the thing is, you do gain 20 life if it's Swords, which is kind of sweet.
Not too relevant against this Stoneforge deck.
Not in this deck. But if it's like a Zoo deck versus a Dark Depths deck, it make a big difference. Like 20 life, that's 4 or 5 turns.
Yeah, definitely.
They don't have Night.
That was a big issue. That was a big issue. I remember. I think Ben Lundquist mentioned that.
Yeah, that was actually who talked about it, who I was referencing. Yeah. Ben Lundquist when he wrote a Dark Depths primer for StarCityGames.com.
Yeah, he did in fact do that.
And he was like, he basically said that people say, oh, well, you just get swords all the time, and he said that, well, sure, I'll gain 20 life.
Sure, they paid a card and a mana. I paid 2 mana, 2 cards, and gained 20.
Yeah, seems pretty reasonable.
Yeah, I mean, I would pay 1 mana, a card and a land drop for 20 life, right? Wouldn't you?
Depends on the mashup.
Most of them.
I guess Hive Mind. I'll pass.
Yeah, sure.
In control, mirrors might not be necessary.
No.
Definitely sometimes.
Yeah.
It's any beatdown deck? Yes, please.
Oh, yeah.
It's mono red? Yes, please. So the players going into their sideboards here. Once again, most notably, Brian Boss does not have a lot of cards to sideboard in. But the card he does have to sideboard in Inquisition of Kozilek.
Yeah, that card's going to be awesome here.
That's exactly what he's looking for. Although I'm still kind of surprised that he doesn't have Hymn to Turok anywhere.
I mean, I guess he maybe thinks he doesn't need it.
Isn't mana too rough, maybe?
Yeah, that might be the problem. Black's, like this deck has a lot more Tarmogoyf, kind of, in Living Wish trying to push the deck away from me. Kenny's deck was basically mono black, maybe a bit of green, barely splashing white. This deck's a bit heavier on the green and might need to fetch lands that are not just swamps. And it also only has 1 Urborg Tomb available.
Yeah, I mean, I can't imagine not playing him if your deck can support it. So I think if you're a rock kind of deck, so I imagine it's probably just a mana issue if you just don't get BB often enough.
Actually, looking at his spells, I don't actually know what he wants to cut. Like, does he not want Tarmogoyf? No. He wants Living Wish, he wants Thoughtseize. Thoughtseize is better than him for your combo deck, for sure. Mental Misstep you want, because, protecting your Knight, protecting your everything.
Is Misstep better than Hindatura?
Maybe, if you're protecting Dark Depths. It's very defensible that he does not have it. The only card in his deck that might, fulfill the same purpose is Life from the Loam, and that's a bit more of a... Life from the Loam might not be the best. Oh, he has Horizon Canopies. Ooh.
Canopy is pretty neat here.
Yeah.
The other cool thing you can do with Wish sideboards, I think a lot of people overlook, is, and we can take a look at this with Brian's deck, is sometimes you just bring in your 1-ups. You're like, well, I'm never going to wish for it in this matchup.
Yeah,
so I just want my Forced Wasteland or something like that.
Tarmogoyf.
Yeah, for Tarmogoyf. So, it's possible that he's going to bring in some of these. I don't know exactly
just like
which
this
ones.
Shriek Maw. Don't really want to wish for the Shriek Maw in this matchup. Not enough time to do that. Gonna have to wish for combo pieces, but, Shriek Maw drawing it would be nice.
Yeah, so, I mean, not that I think you'd bring Shriek Maw in this matchup specifically,
for sure.
but in some matchups it is that way. So that's kind of interesting. On the flip side, Korey Fey, they always see the Elspeth come in. Maybe the 4th Force of Will. Yeah, he only has 3 forces main deck, 1 side.
This is kind of awkward because, the junk half of Brian's deck really is punishing Force Will, while the other half is not so much.
Do you think Korey will bring in Misdirection? I'm sure he thinks that he's got to have him, right?
It's very possible that he's going to get trapped into doing that. Elspeth is... I don't actually know. It's so awkward boarding against this half and half combo deck.
Yeah, 4 Path to Exile, that's the one thing I can guarantee you're going to come in. He beats the combo, also just good against, Knight of the Reliquaries and such.
Right.
Maybe Wrath, depending on what you feel like. Pithy Needle is another card. Like, it's okay, you can name Knight, you can name Hexmage, but it doesn't do anything against if they're being on the Tarmogoyf. So.
Right. I mean, even if you name Knight, it's still a giant creature usually.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, mainly I think it's, you just use it to shut off the combo, but, is that worth it? Are you spending a card to do that? Is that really what you want?
Yeah. I mean, even then, Brian Boss's deck only has 1 Dark Depths. Like, it's not... Hexmage is still going to beat down for 2 every time.
Take 2.
Yeah.
Play a Jace, kill your Jace. We already saw a Vampire Hexmage play second in one of the events today. 4 copies in the Vampires deck. We got second. A little unusual. Korey Fey leads on a Misty Rainforest.
Clipboard raised very high in the air. Chris Anders.
All right. So, Korey Fey has Mr. Rainforest. Brian, who's the boss, plays fetch land for Bayou. Brian fetches up a Bayou, and there's Inquisition for Korey. And I think this is pretty key. You can strip Stoneforge Mystic just like we used to see in Standard. You can strip numerous other important cards. Swords, you can check and see if your Dark Depths is safe to go through. Get counter magic, counter spell. Looks like Korey is fetching in response though. Might see a Brainstorm. That is the one big difference in Legacy, is that you can pay 1 and then suddenly you can put your 2 most important cards back on top. And with a card like Inquisition, you might not even leave any targets left to hit. So see what happens. Yep, and there's a Brainstorm from Korey Faye. Mental Misstep from Brian Boss. Going to put an end to that nonsense. Who's the boss, he asks. Who is the boss? And flops down a hand of Tundra, Mishra's Factory, Swords of Plowshares, Spell Snare, and Jace the Mind Sculptor. Meaning he has to choose between Swords and Spell Snare. Takes the Snare. Now, I think that might be a little telling about his hand. It's possible that Brian has a 2-drop he really wants to resolve. Ooh, Standstill. That could be a problem for Brian Boss. He's going to just give Korey extra cards. He has to break it. Let's see. There's Wasteland. So Brian, despite taking that Spell Snare, does not break the Standstill on turn 2. I don't think Brian wants to play a longer game, though. It's possible that what Brian's plan is to break the Standstill with a discard spell. That way he can look over the 3 cards that Korey draws as well as the other cards in his hand and dismantle whatever his most important pieces. That's one strategy a lot of players have typically used against Standstill in the past. So we might see him breaking it with a Thoughtseize, or wait till he has double Thoughtseize, double Inquisition in his hand. Korey plays another Mishra's Factory, serves in with the active one, and Brian takes the opportunity to Wasteland it. And down comes Horizon Canopy for Brian. And if Brian's plan is to Thoughtseize/Inquisition Korey, then he might be okay just taking a couple hits from that Mishra's Factory. And at this point, I'm pretty sure that's what Brian's plan is. Otherwise, he would have broken the Standstill by now. All right, passes back to Korey again. I'm sure he's going to slam in for 2 with that Factory again. Factory serves in for 2, dropping Brian down to 13 life. Plenty of life to play around with, a couple more turns to maybe assemble the hand he wants. Korey plays the Flooded Strand.
Magic players in the second draft open.
Brian passes back. Brian's sitting at 13, Korey at 19. That Standstill preventing Brian from doing anything unless he wants Korey to draw 3 cards. The good old strategy with the land still half of the deck is you just put out Standstill, you can just serve with your Mishra's Factories, your man lands. All right, now Brian I think has too many cards in his hand. 3, 6, 8 cards. I thought I saw 9 there for a second, but I presume that's not the case. So, all right, I think he's gonna break it. Yep, there's the discard spell. Thoughtseize, Korey draws 3 cards, so he's doing exactly what his plan ideally was. Now it's a matter of if Korey's just gonna misstep his discard spells, if that Inquisition is even gonna get anywhere, or that Thoughtseize is even gonna get anywhere. Nope, resolves. So the hand he sees, oh my. Wasteland, Swords, Mystic, Click, Jace. What a hand. If you're Brian Boss here, that is a rough hand to choose from. I don't know exactly what's in Brian's hand. I don't know what you should take. But that is a very difficult hand to beat. Those Vendilion Clicks are going to mess up with Brian's game plan while simultaneously dealing damage. Stoneforge Mystic can find Batterskull. Swords of Plowshares can deal with the combo if Brian tries to assemble that. Yeah, man, that is a very rough grip for Brian to see. All right, so he takes the Stoneforge Mystic and then pays 2, going down to 8 off the Horizon Canopy. And it looks like he's going to cast a Tarmogoyf. Chooses to Life from the Loam. So he's going to loan back a couple lands. And now he has access to Wasteland and Marsh Flats. And he can play out the Wasteland if he wants. Yeah, Korey Faye's hand is just devastating. That discard spell did not yield good omens. click, click, Stoneforge Mystic, Jace, land, after discarding one Stoneforge Mystic. So if you're Korey Fay, your plan is probably to go untap Mystic with Vendilion Click untapped, or Vanilla Click mana up, and just minister the beatdown. All right, so Brian plays Mox Diamond, discards a land, taps the diamond, goes for another Thoughtseize, seeing the same cards.
That hand is a monster.
Yeah, that hand is pretty unbelievable.
Has to take the Stoneforge Mystic. And,
Yeah. And now Brian has the opportunity to wasteland that Nistrous Thatcher if he wants to.
She does. But, looks like, these Vendilion Clicks might just be enough given Brian's life total. Korey Fay has a Wasteland. Looks like he's thinking about whether he wants to play Jace, whether he wants a Vendilion Click. I don't know. I think that Jace is probably the right play here, but he chooses to Vendilion Click and just kind of crack down life totals here, make sure the game doesn't last much longer, because
Yeah, I like
life from the loam is the kind of thing that might want to be siphoned a bit early.
Yeah, I like the click. There's 2 combats away from killing Brian, and you could even get to peek at his hand and get rid of anything that could be a problem. And if he kills your first click, you just have the second click, which will come right down. So
Sure. Seems like Jace is really good against Brian playing, some Knight and like getting a Maze of Ith into play.
sure.
But
Yeah,
I guess you can just play the
you-
Jace after the
yeah.
follow-up if Brian does that.
exactly. Brian can do whatever this turn. Korey goes end step Vendilion Click, then untaps, plays Jace, bounces, whatever Brian does. And
Doesn't really need to brainstorm his hands. All the best cards anyways.
yeah. So it looks like Brian's maybe going to deploy a Tarmogoyf here.
Looked like he had another life from the loam. Hexmage.
Hexmage. All right. 2-1. Can deal with 2 and First Striker. All right. Passes back. Korey Fay is going to drop a Vendilion Click here. Separate his mana strangely, but I think that still means he's going to Vendilion Click. Let's just thinking about Swords to Plowshares. Yeah, there's the click.
Probably just want to look before you swords anyways. He's looks like Mental Misstep, Life from the Loam, and Tarmogoyf.
All right, keep him. That's not what Korey Fay said, but I would do that. I'd just say keep him. I mean, those cards are not threatening at all.
They do not interact very well.
And all you have to do is hit him twice with a click. So as long as he has this next draw step isn't a way to kill a click, you win this game.
I definitely just turned my head sideways to try and get rid of that glare too. Let's see.
Oh yeah. Like, man, why can't I see past the glare on those cards?
Yeah. The only card out of those that you really might want to ship. There's nothing really.
Yeah. So, and Korey's gonna take 2 here from that Hexmage. But
Yeah, I think Brian Boss is only out. There's an untapped Wasteland. I really don't know what his out is here.
I think his only out is drawing
Nope.
Dark Depths.
There's an untapped Wasteland that does not work.
And having Korey forget about his Wasteland.
Okay.
So he's gonna dredge Life from the Loam.
3 cards hit a Dark Depths. That does not look like it hit.
Nope.
And
Draws off the top.
looks like it's probably enough. Don't think that was a Dark Depths, and I don't think Korey...
Yeah, headed into Game 3.
Okay.
All
Game
right.
3.
Man, Korey Fay with a pretty sick run in the past couple days. Top 4 in the standard portion with his Jund deck. Now trying to poise himself to make top 8 of the legacy portion too.
What's his current record here?
I'll look it up, but their players are definitely either 5-1 or better.
Yeah.
They could be, or sorry, they're 4-1 or better. They could be 5-0. I'll find out for you in a second. In the meantime, how do you think that Korey Fay will change his sideboarding plan now that he knows more Brian Boss's deck? Maybe he thinks that maybe doesn't have him.
I don't know. It's really hard to tell. It's not really. I think it's just going to vary too much from person to person.
All right, let's see where we are. And Korey Fay versus Brian Boss. Brian Boss is on table 4.
These are undefeateds, it looks like.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure these are both undefeateds. Brian Boss sitting on table 4. I imagine at this point that is still an undefeated table.
Yep.
So, yeah, wow. So the winner of this match would go to be 6-0, and if Korey Fay wins, he's just a one match away from drawing into top 8.
Very
Making
close.
2 back-to-back top 8s out of nowhere.
Yeah, that was most. Who was the last person to have done that? Was that Nick Spagnuolo? Just out of nowhere, basically.
Out of nowhere?
I guess Nick Spagnuolo had various other events, but like,
Yeah, I
that
mean-
was like his first Star City event was the back-to-back.
Not exactly sure who the last person was.
Yeah.
Korey Fay could do it today. We'll see. He has to win this match. He has to win this game, and then the match after it, of course.
Yeah.
Or, some combination of not losing 2 matches. Who do you think has the edge here after watching them play, though?
I think that on the play, Brian Boss might have the edge with all of the discard for the Stoneforge Mystics.
Oh, so it looks like Korey Fay is actually X1. So Brian Boss got paired down this round.
I see.
So they're sitting at table 4, but
Yeah.
not indicative.
I don't know, does that matter? Does it give you a bit more fire to get paired up, or is it a bit tilting to get paired down, or just regardless, doesn't matter?
I mean, it's just a game of Magic. You just want to win, right? Like, it doesn't matter. It's an open series. It doesn't matter if you get paired up or down. You're just not close to the top 8. You've got to crush your opponent if you want to win.
Yep.
So, let's see. So, man, I'm looking over these deck lists and the sideboards. Don't know how much. Yeah, I don't think these players really want to change too much going into Game 3 unless Korey started to figure out maybe him isn't in Brian's deck. I don't know if he boarded in Misdirection or not.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really know if you can board in Misdirection here. It seems like it only hits. I guess it hits Thoughtseize.
Yeah, you get hit all of his discard spells.
But I mean, hitting Thoughtseize still puts you down some cards. So
It gets Inquisition too, right?
is Inquisition target player or an opponent?
I'm gonna check right now. Target player. So you can send Inquisition spiraling back at its owner too.
Wow. So maybe he will just bring it in.
I mean, it's
Still
only
a
one
2 for 2,
Misdirection.
yeah.
So it's 2 for 2, and also if he suspects him to Turok, it's pretty much the best card you can have against him. And once again, I think it's very weird for a rock-like junk deck
Just not to have him.
to not have him, yeah. Yeah, we'll see what happens. Once again, we decided it was because Brian's mana probably couldn't support it. But it's still very strange. Not what you would expect. Alright, so it looks like the players are drawing up their opening hands. And we'll see what we have. Players looking over.
Brian Boss looks like he's keeping, but
Yeah, it looks like Brian Boss is keeping me too. Is Korey Fay satisfied with his hand? That is the question at this point.
looks like he's questioning it.
Oh man, whenever, I think it was Ken Kroner who wrote once, maybe it was Rich Owen, one of the two, that if your opponent spends so long looking at their hand and then they keep, you should always be happy.
Oh, yeah.
Because they probably just kept it, because it's usually right to
it's-
mulligan
yeah.
more than it is to keep.
They're usually keeping then because they're too embarrassed to mulligan,
Yeah, well, or just like it's a tough decision, and I think more often than not people are like, well, this could work out. I'm going to be hopeful and it's
Get a
going to
little
work
gutsy.
out. But
Yeah. If they're people are more willing to be gutsy, but like if they're a conservative person, they're not going to tank on the mulligan. They're just going to snap ship it.
yeah. So see what happens. Korey going down to 6 cards. Now with all that discard too, the mulliganing really hurts here.
But there's no hymns, so it can't be. It's not as rough as it could be.
Right? Yeah. Oh, mulliganing down to 6 or even 5, getting himmed.
Yeah,
it's just
it's-
abysmal.
Yeah, I mulled the 4 and got him to the Grand Prix, and it was awful.
Oh no.
Yeah,
Him to Turok is a pretty unbelievable card.
it really is.
You play it, and sometimes that's it. The end.
Oops. Good luck.
All right, so they're off to the races. Brian Boss looks like he's cracking a fetch land, as turn 1 play so often is.
So many fetch lines in this format.
All of them, in fact.
Yes.
You can even play Floodplain if you want to.
Or what's the Rocky Tar Pit? Is the
Rocky
one?
Tar Pit, yeah, sure.
Yeah, Rocky Bullwinkle.
I mean, if you're playing turn 1 Amulet of Vigor anyway, like you're fine, right?
Yeah.
All right, so Not quite sure exactly what's going on in the game. We'll have the camera switch here in a second.
Let on a Thoughtseize. There's going to be a Brainstorm in response.
Brainstorm.
Which gets misstepped. The previous Thoughtseize took a standstill, and Korey currently just has lands in hand after all of that.
Yep.
He's got a factory, but I don't know if that's enough.
Alright, so Korey drops the Mishra's Factory down. Let's see what Brian Boss can do on his third turn. And cracks Marsh Flats. Let's see what he finds. Alright, and there's a Life in the Loam. That's going to return 3 lands. Now, granted, Brian's not exactly making a ton of progress.
But he's just so far ahead on cards right now, so...
Yeah, really far ahead in cards as opposed to where Korey Fay is.
That probably doesn't matter too much in this matchup because of how big of an advantage Jace gives.
Right.
But Brian Boss is now hitting all of his land drops for the rest of the game.
Well, I think something even larger is if Brian starts dredging that loam, he could get closer to Wasteland, and that could start locking Korey out if he's got a non-basic heavy draw.
Brian Boss already at 12, it looks like, just from 2 Thoughtseize and Mental Misstep and some fetch lands. This Mishra's Factory beatdown plan could be well within reach.
Yeah, it's crazy how much damage you can just take. It's not even like you're putting Ravnica Duels into play untapped.
Yeah.
And he cracks yet another fetch land.
He had Crack Fetch take 3 on 1, Crack Fetch take 5 on 2, so...
Pretty insane. Yeah, just totally using his life as a resource. Brian does need to find a Wasteland to deal with that Mishra's Factory.
He's another Reliquary in his hand, so... And Korey had no spells as of last we checked, which was, I believe, 2 draw steps ago, so... 3 cards to find an answer that night. We'll see.
Draws normally.
Draws a Wasteland. That was... clutch.
Wow, what a draw.
Not only does it kill the factory, but it keeps Korey off of Knight of the Reliquary beating Jace the Mind Sculptor for a turn.
And so now he can Wasteland the factory, and he's got Loam Wasteland set up.
Yes.
So Korey has to be very careful in how he fetches his lands.
Yeah. Looking at his list, Korey has enough basics that he can get to where he wants to. 2 plains, 3 islands, but still.
Yeah, I mean, if all your Mishra's Factories are gone,
yeah,
gonna be a problem.
Especially because, drawing the lands actually is, maybe you won't just draw all fetch lands. Maybe you'll draw some of your 4 Tundras.
Yeah, that happens too. I'm not gonna not play them, right?
Yeah.
So, just got a report from Caleb Durward, who walked by. He won this round, so he advances to 4-1-1.
Correct.
Watched him in the last match. Really interesting deck. Wild in the Coddles and paired up with Jace the Mind Sculptors.
Yeah. He cast turn 1 Wild in the Coddle, turn 2 Kasali Pride Mage, turn 3 Lightning Bolt, turn 4 Jace the Mind Sculptor.
Yep. So Korey Fay trying to figure out how to maneuver his way around the situation. This mana is really constrained, and that Knight of the Reliquary is going to get out of hand really fast. Plus, Brian has Wasteland, plus Life in the Loam, and Brian can hit all the land drops he's ever going to want.
Well, there's a path for that Knight of the Reliquary.
Right, so Knight gets path.
Brian's going to get some of these snow-covered swamps, or forests. Really no reason for the snow-covered besides its show value, but...
I mean, bluff gifts, bluff scred, I don't know.
Bluff scrying sheets, bluff Maltharonum.
Yeah, bluff Maltharonum. I mean, it could happen.
Misread your deck list.
yeah. That's my concern. Is you always, the small gain you get for bluffing is hampered by the small loss you get from occasionally misregistering your deck list.
Yeah, it's like you're playing a deck people don't normally want Pithing Needle against, and you have fetch lands. I never mix them up. I always just play 4 of whichever one I have. Do not want to misregister that at all.
Yeah, for sure. It's one of the worst ways to get a game lost, knowing that you registered snow-covered forest instead of forest or something.
Yep.
Right?
Looks like Brian has a Tarmogoyf in his hand to send the beats in soon. So.
All right, so he can start the aggressiveness that he needs to have.
It's got sorcery, land, enchantment, instant. Don't believe there's a creature, but that's still a reasonably sized Tarmogoyf.
Yep, it'll certainly jumpstart the aggressive strategy.
What is that card? It's a Living Wish.
Living Wish. All right. What do you think he's going to go for here? Maybe Gaddock-Teeg?
Gaddock-Teeg would be a good decision.
Tarmogoyf, just for another beater.
I can see Kasali Pride Mage, Gaddock-Teeg, Tarmogoyf, Hex Mage, Dark Depths, and Wasteland. All as targets.
Looks like he shuffles Teeg to the front.
Yeah.
Yep, and he gets Teeg, and he's going to cast Teeg. So that'll keep Korey Fey off of
Jace.
Jace the Mind Sculptor. Also prevents Force Will and Misdirection.
And Batterskull from being cast from hand, correct?
Batterskull cannot be cast from hand, correct. Still be Mystic into play, of course. But.
That involves, untapping with Mystic, however.
Right.
Stops sideboarded Wrath of God, stops Misdirection or Elspeth if you boarded it in.
Yep. The grizzled old man just says no, get off my lawn.
It's a good one.
Jace, you can go get your football from another yard. Alright. So I don't know what's in Korey's hand. I don't know what he's gripping, but if he does have a Jace, that Gaddock-Teeg is going to put a big dent in his plans. Alright, and there's Stoneforge Mystic, so that'll find the Batterskull. That Batterskull will be able to come down from the Mystic, but if Brian has a way to deal with the Mystic, it can't be cast under Gaddock-Teeg.
Right. The Batterskull is also still smaller than a Tarmogoyf, so...
Right.
It's, Tarmogoyf, I believe, has 4 power, 5 toughness right now. I don't see any artifacts, creatures, tribals, or planeswalkers yet.
Are there any tribals? I don't think there are any tribals.
No, not in these decks.
Not in either of these decks.
I have seen an 8/9 Tarmogoyf before.
Oh yeah, I mean, in Bitter Blossom and Legacy, for sure.
Yeah.
I think we had one not too
Warren
long
Weirding?
ago. Yeah, Warren Weirding. I think we had one not too long ago versus one of the black-white junk decks.
Yeah.
There's Bitter Blossom, hit the graveyard, and that's tribal, buddy.
Yep.
So, players each shuffle from for respective reasons. One Stoneforge Mystic, one fetch land.
Brian Boss getting a little low on life, but still reasonably okay.
Sitting at 8. If the Batterskull comes down and Korey has a way to deal with the Tarmogoyf that Brian Boss could cast, then his life total is going to become a serious issue.
Looks like Brian drew a Knight of the Reliquary, so we're a little bit away from that.
Alright, serves in with Gaddock-Teeg, going to punch Korey for 2.
Yep. Old man smacks you with this game.
Yeah, exactly.
That's a Knight of the Reliquary.
There's Knight, and we see Tarmogoyf also?
I think I would lead on the Tarmogoyf there. Just don't want to get the, I don't know what counterspells Korey could have for 1 mana, but rather bait it with the Tarmogoyf first. I guess you could have Daze is the one, so you'd lead on Knight. Never mind.
Yeah, I think I'd rather have Knight in play, right?
I was just thinking, I also forgot that you were shut off a Forcible from Gaddock-Teeg too, which is huge.
Also, shuts off Wrath also, so he doesn't have to worry about getting his entire board blown up.
Yeah,
Nah.
Brian Moss is rapidly proceeding to having everything unlocked in this game state.
Now, worth noting that Mystic can put down a Batterskull. However, Brian's creatures are just larger than a Batterskull is right now. Now, unfortunately for Brian, he doesn't have the secret tech Tower of the Magistrate to lock off that Batterskull.
That's been one that people have been joking about for a while, and then suddenly it's happened.
Yeah, and it looks like serious business when Caleb
It really
did it,
means
too.
it. Yeah, especially against those factories. That really means it there.
Yeah, against the factories is good. It's boarding against Affinity, right? It says random uses.
Turn off those cranial platings.
Right, turn off cranial platings. But the big one is definitely shutting off any living weapon.
Yeah, really shutting it off.
And it really just shuts off equipment in general, because if you equip your, even if you equip your Batterskull to your Stoneforge Mystic or something, you just be like, all right, well, 1, shove it off.
Korey's looking at a standstill to put back. Doesn't seem very impressive right now against this board.
Standstill is not the card you want.
No.
Against Tarmogoyf and Nether Reliquary.
Yeah.
I wonder if Standstill was a card that Caleb Durward tried in his 4-color Zoo deck, where you just go turn 1 Wild Nacatl, turn 2 Standstill.
I've seen that in Affinity, and then it kind of plays in a similar role. You just kind of Nacatl, I can imagine that turn 1 Tropical Island, turn 2 Plateau, leading into the curve of Wild Nacatl Standstill is pretty unbeatable.
in one of my overextended tournaments last week, someone did that.
That's where I saw it last.
Yeah, that's where you saw it. Yeah, and I watched him play some games. It seemed insane. He just went turn 1 Nikadal, turn 2 standstill, and or like turn 1 Nikadal, turn 2 Tarmogoyf, turn 3 standstill. And I was like, all right, what are you gonna do?
Is that another Knight of the Reliquary? That guy gets way out of hand.
All right, Tarmogoyf serves in for, and you said he was 5?
I think he's a 4 right now.
4. You said there's no creature, right?
As far as I know, he may have dredged a creature the turn he dredged, however. I can't remember.
Well, we're going to find out here in a second. Korey's life was at 17. How much was taken away? Korey dropping down. Batter Skull.
Maybe Batterskull jumps in front and Korey starts cycling the Batterskull germ token every time?
Yeah, looks like a 4. Korey drops to 13. No creature anywhere to be found. And there's no Dryad Arbor. Not that I don't think he would do this anyway, but there's no Dryad Arbor to potentially get with Knight and then sacrifice to put a creature in the graveyard.
Yeah. The other thing too is that Brian Voss, at any time if he draws a Vampire Hexmage, he can just threaten this instant kill.
Right, with Dark Depths. Like, here's the 20/20. What are you gonna do about it?
It looks like he's holding a misstep too.
Wow. Well, he's letting that if he has misstep, that brainstorm is resolving. It's possible he's just a little concerned about being on 8 life.
It's possible he's just waiting for a swords and those are the only cards that matter.
Yeah, he's also like, I have inevitability. I'm just gonna play, find Hexmage eventually. And,
right.
Not
even that. Just I'm going to kill you with this Tarmogoyf eventually.
Right. Don't swords me, bro.
Yeah.
And that'll be that. All right. So Korey thinking pretty hard about what 2 cards to put back. Finally, snaps them back on top. Now he's got to make a decision. Taps 1, floats a mana. Uses another Reliquary. What land do you think we're going to go see him get?
Wasteland for that Tundra.
Wasteland for the Tundra? Okay.
Korey just brainstormed without a fetch there, so he might have to keep what he has.
And the other option is Horizon Canopy. If he wants to go a little deeper, he could find Maze of Ith. If he wanted to.
It's true.
To
keep that Knight up for that Batterskull.
Yeah.
I don't like that.
If you're just tuning in, the way it works is when you attack with Nether Reliquary, you can wait till after damage and then Maze of Ith because you're still in the combat step, still an attacker. So it can play offense, defense, find a land. So good stuff. So let's see. It's going down.
It's like Brian has a Thoughtseize in hand. He's low on life, but I don't know how threatened he actually is here. I guess he could just randomly die to a Vendilion Click, but that Knight of the Reliquary still has the ability to Maze of Ith, so another Tarmogoyf and a Mental Misstep.
Let's see. All right, Tarmogoyf comes down, and Brian just continues to add to the board. Korey's gonna be hard pressed to fight through this. Korey's got a counter spell you can use on that Tarmogoyf, but that just continues to deaden his options against anything else Brian could possibly do. All right, there's the counter spell for the Tarmogoyf. I think he probably has to cast that counter spell.
He's not gonna get to the point where he can protect his Vendilion Click with it, so probably. Let's see, what else is he going to counterspell at this point? Living, like, the Hexmage combo, but that's not how he's going to die. He could realistically counterspell in the Mental Misstep fight over his swords, but he doesn't really, I don't know if he knows that's what's going to happen. I mean, he's seen Mental Misstep, but I don't know if that's the fight that's going to occur. And I don't even know if he has Wrath of Gods out of the sideboard right now.
I think Brian Boss has been playing this game phenomenally by holding that Mental Misstep.
Yeah.
I think a lot of players would have just jammed it on one of those brainstorms.
Right.
And he's been showing a lot of really patient play by waiting to use it.
When the game's going to go long and your opponent doesn't have the shuffle, countering that brainstorm there just really doesn't matter.
Right. I think a lot of players would have countered it, but Korey's just stuck with 2 dead cards on top.
Mm-hmm.
It didn't actually accomplish it that much, and I think, just like what AJ said in his article this week, you really have to wait till you have a fetch land or cards to put back that you don't want, and a combination of things. You can't just snap off the brainstorms all the time. All right, so Brian at 8 life, willing to go down to 6 to fire off a Precarious Thoughtseize. sees Counterspell and Standstill. Well,
Counterspell and Stone Blank.
Yeah, so take the Counterspell.
6 is an interesting life total. It puts him in 2 Vendilion click swings.
Yeah.
I mean, this is all assuming he has some way to deal with this Knight of the Reliquary, but...
Alright, so in comes the Knight.
No, this Knight's sacking.
Knight activates. And maybe he just gets Mazavith here?
Well, this Batterskull token's dead, so... Let's see, what are his options? He can, Mazavith is probably his best value land. Maybe a Horizon Canopy, but I don't really think he needs...
I like Maze because A, you don't die to Vendilion click that way. B, you can play offense and defense with that Nether Reliquary. Oh, it just goes for the Wastelands.
Yeah.
I think that's a reasonable play too. It's possible I just want to get Maze of Ith too much, playing with the fear, and you might just not need to play with that fear.
It's not even the fear. It's just it's a better clock, I think, just to Maze of Ith. But killing the Tundra does put this Stoneforge Mystic Batterskull combo out of range of just looping every turn. You can't just draw a basic and get there.
Right. Yeah, that's pretty reasonable. Although Brian still hasn't dredged that life from the loam. I'm not sure that he wants to. I'm not saying that he definitely wants to or anything. But it's something he could do, and if he got a Horizon Canopy, he could start using it as a way to draw extra cards, build up his mana base.
I think that his actual cards that he can draw are probably better at this point. Just more creatures, if anything. More creatures, more mental missteps, too. Those are the cards that matter. Living Wish, just another creature. Dredging Loam's not terrible, but, you know, you may as well have the chance to just lock out the game and get, like, a Hex Mage and then get Dark Depths or something like that.
Yeah, that's totally possible. Let's see what Brian chooses to do this turn. So he drops Mishra's Factory. And as if on cue, I think Brian goes all the way back for that life from the loam. And flips Extirpate, Dark Depths, Extirpate. So flips both of his sideboard Extirpates. Those are no longer something he can draw. And the Dark Depths is out of his deck now, which is pretty irrelevant. Brian's going to cast it, though, put it into his hand alongside Wasteland and Horizon Canopy. And I think we must be getting low on time in the round. I can't see the clock anywhere, but this game's been going on for a while.
Yeah.
And these players don't seem to be picking up the pace at all. So
it's a 5/6 Scoif now, I think, now that creatures are in there.
Sounds about right.
Oh, he's counting for Knight. Oh, wow, that guy is huge.
Yeah, that Knight is very large.
It might be time for everybody to get in there, and Korey might just have to bin the Stoneforge Mystic on this attack. His last card, 1 card in hand, right? Brian knows it's a standstill, so...
It's a pretty safe attack.
Yeah. That is a giant Knight now. It's... I don't know what the numbers are, but it's almost feasible that he might not have wanted all of those lands back.
Yeah, well, as long as the Knight is a 6/6, it doesn't matter, right?
6? I think it might need to be a bit bigger than a 6/6. Because that Stoneforge, he wants it to be lethal with the Stoneforge. Looks like he might be 1 or 2 short of making the Stoneforge jump this turn.
Well, let's see. Tarmogoyf is how big?
Tarmogoyf's a 5/6.
All right, so 6 plus 5 plus 2. I mean, that puts him.
Well, I think I counted the Knight as an 8, but I could have been wrong going through. He was flashing through. It was pretty fast.
I mean, I definitely would have attacked before casting Life from the loam. That seems like really out of order.
Well, he has to get the Wasteland back to kill the Factory.
Just so the T doesn't die?
No, well, not even that. Just so that the Stoneforge Mystic's forced to block and gets the Batterskull out of the equation. Yeah, Korey. Okay, so it was lethal. The Knight only had to have 8 lands. And
right, yeah, I assume Brian counted and knew what he was doing.
Yeah.
All right, that's that.
That is the match, and Brian Boss proceeds to 6-0 with this Hex Mage Brew, which apparently is just doing very well. Just coming out of nowhere.
Has a couple different players. Apparently,
a couple different builds too.
Yeah. So when we were talking to Kenny Mayer earlier about his build, he said some player called MTG Collector on Magic Online is what's been really pushing this deck. And apparently a couple players have different ideas. Brian Boss playing his own take on it. Kenny's is playing almost a straight up MTG Collector's version.
Right.
And both players are doing really well with it. Brian Boss moves to 6-0. Kenny was X1 last time I checked. So it's very, very well done for these two players. We'll see if we can push one into the top 8.
I know it's been floating around for a little bit, but it definitely has not really received any attention until now. I don't know what shifted in the metagame to cause it to become so much better, but it might just be that Knight of the Reliquary gets better.
Yeah. Knight of the Reliquary is certainly really good right now. So
Yeah, that card has just been basically kind of the story of this format right now. You know, the unfair decks have kind of been weeded out a little bit, even though Ben Weinberg's doing so well with Hive Mind.
Yeah.
And so all you have are, playing what people would call normal Magic, I guess. And Knight of the Reliquary is pretty good at, this toolbox that you don't really have in the format without survival.
normal everyday Magic, like
Yeah.
2020 creatures.
Yeah,
and,
I mean, sure.
Left alone wasteland
They're
lots.
still creatures. They're still in play.
It's true. You're not doing it the Ari Lax way. The Storm combo, the Hive
Sure.
Minds.
Sure.
Even although we didn't see a Dredge deck, I guess.